I am so glad that you're here with me today. It is a beautiful fall day here in Texas. I hope it is a lovely day wherever you are. My name is Carrie Giletto, and I am one of Heartfelt Creations online instructors. And today we're going to be doing quite a few techniques. We're going to be doing some stamping, some die cutting, some embossing, some watercoloring, and some flower shaping. So let's go ahead and change our camera view and take a look at what we're going to make today. Whoops. There we go. I actually talked to you when my camera was already going, wasn't it? I forgot to change the camera view. So there we go. This is what we're going to be making today. And like I said, we've got lots of different things going on in this card. So we're going to want to get started straight away. So first of all, let's go ahead and take a look at the different products we're going to be using. Okay, so we have our stylish rose frame. And we're going to be using both of the stamps that come in this set. We're also going to be using the Elegant Rose Sentiment. And we're going to be using the Thinking of You today. Then we're going to use two of the sentiment sets. We're going to use the My Friend Sentiment, and we'll be using this piece that says Just Wanted You to Know. And in the birthday sentiment set, we're going to be using this real pretty happy birthday right down here. So that's what we're going to be using for our stamps. Now let's take a look at our dies. We're going to be using the Palace Gateway die. This is a really beautiful die that I feel like just doesn't get enough love in my craft room. I need to pull it out way more often because it's just a beautiful die, and I want to make sure I'm utilizing it. So today we're going to pair that with our Elegant Rose frame. And we'll be doing that later. So we're also going to be using the rectangle filigree frame. All right, so here's our project. We'll go ahead and set that aside. All right, to begin, on your, I want you to take a piece of watercolor paper and you're going to stamp your frame and the pretty little floral swag here, and go ahead and stamp that in black, and then do clear heat embossing over the top. So I have used, I believe it's a Stampendous Fine Clear embossing powder. And this just makes it way easier to watercolor if you emboss it. And you'll want to use, it's probably best to use an ink that is compatible with the watercolors. Sometimes when you're heat embossing, you can get away with using the other kind of ink, but for just to be on the safe side, I would use the ink that is not water-based. That way it won't run into your colors. All right, so once you get that done, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to be using the colors Deep Purple, Emerald Green, and the Chartreuse Green. So these are our three colors that we'll be using today. And in the Classic Rose, we're going to be using this piece right here that has, you can make one small rose with just this stamp. So we're going to stamp this 3 times in the Deep Purple. I just have it once here, but to make our card, you'll need to do it 3 times. And then this pretty leaf that comes in the Classic Rose set, you're going to stamp that 3 times in the Emerald Green. I'm going to set those aside for a moment. We're going to do all of our stamping first, and then we'll come back and do our watercolor and our inking. So for our paper today, we're going to be using some paper from the Spring Garden collection. So that is actually the collection that has the hyacinth and the daffodil. And I'm going to be using this piece right here. And on the back side, it's basically the small version of this one, but it's not pictured on the front. And then we're also, whoops, I forgot to show you that one. We're also going to be using this one. And on this one right here, this is sheet 9B in the paper pad. I want you to stamp your Just Wanted You to Know in black and clear heat emboss over it right down here in the lower right-hand corner of this paper. And I want you to leave it about 1.5 inches or so from the edge and at least a 1/2 inch up. Okay, like you don't want to put it way down here in the corner. You want it about right here. Okay, And we're doing this because on the back side, we're going to use this section. So we want to make sure that where you're stamping is not on that section, because we're going to use that later. So down here is where you need to put that. Okay, the last thing we need to stamp on a sheet of white, this is just regular white cardstock. I believe it's 110 pounds, but you could use 80. We're going to stamp the happy birthday in black and heat emboss it. And then we're going to stamp the thinking of you in the deep purple. And if you wanted to heat emboss that, you could. You don't have to. Okay, so once you get that done, we are all done with our stamping. And the next thing you're going to do is you can go ahead and die cut your frame and your little flower swag that was in your in our elegant rose frames. We're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so as you can see here, I've already done some coloring on part of mine. So today we're going to be doing some watercoloring. So the way I like to do watercoloring is I love using my zig markers. So I have picked a few zig markers here. Then I like to get something to use as my palette. I use just a piece of thin white plastic. It's about 1/4 inch, but it's just smooth white plastic. There's nothing special about this. It's just, I like to use that as my palette. Then I have a little bit of water and a rounded thin paintbrush. And I always, as my final tool, I do like to have a napkin or Kleenex or something on the side just to tap off some water from my paintbrush. All right, so I went ahead and watercolored some of this for you, but I'm going to do this little section right here so that you can see how I did the rest of it. All right, I'm going to come down here. So I'm just going to, there we go. All right, I'm trying to get it where I can see your comments. Hi, Lorna. It's so good to see you. So when I had technical difficulties last week, I was actually out of town and had done my video ahead of time. So it was a little weird to see that it wasn't working. It kind of shocked me because I was like, oh no, because I was too far away to fix it. So I was so glad that it all came together okay. So when we got home, my husband actually bought me a new camera, which is why I had a little bit of trouble this morning switching back and forth. So, but eventually I will figure this one out. Just as soon as I got the other one figured out, they switched on me. Okay, so now that we have our frame, I want you to take some water on your paintbrush and tap it off. And you're just going to get one flower wet. And you want to get that paper pretty well saturated. Now after I do this flower, I'm going to do the rosebuds as well, because I can go ahead and get those wet as well because they're not right next to each other. I'm going to wait to do this flower because it's right next to this flower, and I don't want the water to, I don't want the paint to like go over into that one. So that's kind of the key with watercolor, is you want to do it in sections. So let's go ahead and I'll show you the pens we're using. We're using violet, and you can just put that down. Now what I'm doing on this white piece of plastic, you can do that on just a stamping block, like just a regular block. Lots of people do it on that. I think on the camera it might be a little bit easier to see on the white. So once we do our violet, we're also going to do some pink. You're just going to put that down. And then for our flowers, the last color we're going to do is the Persian blue. And you won't need very much of that, just a little bit. So you can see here on my palette, I'm going to mix a little bit of my purple and pink. You see that? Let's see here if I can. There you go. Can you see that? And this is the color that I'm going to put down first on my flowers. And the way I like to do this is just tap it on, and then I'm going to let the water do the work and let the water move that around. Looks like this one I've got a little too much. There we go. Okay. So I'm just going to tap it kind of down at the base of the flower, and you can see how that water is moving the color around. All right, so while that's kind of moving around, I'll go ahead. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to do this next flower. So do you know how it is when you go on vacation and you're gone and you come back home and it just takes a while to like get back into the rhythm of things? That is very much where I am. We were actually gone on vacation for 2 full weeks. It's the first time in my life, I think, that I was on vacation that long. And it has been just a few days that I've been home, and I still feel a bit out of whack. All right, there we go. All right, so now that we have that light color down, and hopefully you can see that. I'm not real sure. But now that we have this light color down, we're going to let that dry, and we'll come right back to it. So we're going to work on another area while that dries. So the next color we're going to bring in is the May green. And then the next green, it's just called green. So we have the May green and then just regular green. And again, we're going to take our water and go ahead and get those leaves saturated. There we go. So once you get those leaves saturated, hello Terry, it's nice to see you, and Valerie. We're going to take some of the lighter color green, which I believe was the May green, and you're just going to tap it onto the leaves, kind of down at the base. And again, we're going to let that water do the work for us by moving that around. So anywhere there's green, we're just going to go ahead and the vines, since the vines are a little wide here, I am going to just go ahead and paint those. I'm not really watercoloring those. I'm just putting the color on there with my paintbrush. There we go. Didn't feel like I put enough on this one. I'm going to go back on that. Okay, so you can see now, let me bring this up for you. Okay. So you see how the color's pretty light on there. It's not super dark. We're actually going to come in with some other color now to get those darker shades in. So let's go ahead and make sure our flowers are wet again. And I'm mostly focusing down on the base. And I'm going to come in with the purple, and we're just going to add a little bit, some darker shades in there in our flowers, especially wherever the little lines of the drawing that shows where the different layers of the flower overlap. That's kind of where I'm putting my purple. All right, you see that? Okay. All right, now we're going to come in with the green, and we're going to do the same thing to the leaves. We're just going to, and because I think my leaves are still wet, I didn't have to saturate those, but just in the center of the leaves, I'm going to tap on some green right there, and it's going to mix and blend with that lighter green that we put on. I love watercoloring because it is just, you know, the water does the work. So I like that. Okay, the very last thing I'm going to do on my flowers, I'm going to take just a little bit of this blue, and right down at the base of each flower, I'm just going to tap in a little blue. And maybe down in here in these folds of these flowers, just add a little bit of blue. because purple actually has quite a bit of blue in there. Now, I might have got a little too much right there, so I'm just going to blend it out with this. All right, now when that dries, it'll look just like these down here. All right, now the final thing we're going to do here to finish up our frame, we're going to come in with the blue-gray. And with the blue-gray, you're going to want to have quite a bit of water on your brush, but you're going to take just a little bit of blue-gray and you're just going to swipe it out from the corners. See how I'm doing that? You just put your paintbrush and just kind of swipe. And what that does is kind of give dimension to your frame. And I put just a little bit in these corners as well. All right. And the last thing, we're going to tap just a little bit on these, I guess that's baby's breath in there or something like that. So I'm just tapping a little bit of the gray color onto those dotted areas to give them some depth also. All right. Can you see that? All right, and that's exactly how I did this side, and that is also how I did this little swag. All right, so that makes us finished with our watercoloring. It really is a fast and easy process, and I hope some of you will give it a try. Oh, I love this collection also, Julia. It's been a joy to work with. Now, the last time I used the other rose frame, so I was really excited to use this version. And I noticed that Tracy had a similar idea. She used it in hers as well, and she also did the zig, but she and I have totally different styles on how we watercolor. So I'm definitely going to give what she taught a try because I have never done it that way, and it looked really fun. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, we'll set these aside to finish drying. And before you put your paints away, you're thinking of you that you have die cut. I added just a little bit of the watercolor on those roses as well. Even though I didn't do this on watercolor paper, I just very lightly touched the purple and greens to the regular paper. So I didn't saturate it or anything first because they're such small areas, but I did want those roses to have a little bit of color. So you can do that as well. All right, so the next thing we have our roses. So let's go ahead and get our deep purple, our emerald green, and our chartreuse, vivid chartreuse out. And we're going to start with the vivid chartreuse. And on the center of all our roses, we're going to add the vivid chartreuse. Just like that. Taking it about halfway up the petals. So tell me in the chat, is it getting to be fall wherever you live, or are you still feeling summer? It's so weird around here. It's like if you look out the window, it looks like it's going to be a nice crisp fall day, but then you walk outside and it's still 85 degrees. So we think we can wear our fall sweaters, but then we quickly realize, oh no, it's way too hot for that. So it looks like fall, but it doesn't feel like fall. Okay, so here's our deep purple. That's what we're going to do next, and we're going to use our daubers, and just very lightly you're going to make a circle around the outer petals, kind of blending into that chartreuse that we laid down. And not real heavy, but just to get some color on the outer petals. There we go. All right, you see how that is? So once we die cut these, we will make those edges darker, but we want the purple just to kind of be blended into that vivid chartreuse. Okay, we can go ahead and set our deep purple. We're finished with that for a little bit. So the emerald green is our next color. And we're going to use the pointed end of the dauber. And the way you do that is you angle it and run it through your ink so that the majority of your ink is just right there on the tip. And so you're going to take that tip and just set it down at the base of the leaf right there and pull forward, just like that. And it just gives you a nice swipe of dark color up the middle of your leaf. So I find it easier sometimes to like turn my card so that I'm going the same direction all the time. But that's all you're going to do is just like that. And that's all we're going to use for the emerald green right now. We can go ahead and set that aside. We're going to come back to our vivid chartreuse. It's the mink, and you're just going to, oh, I had the wrong dauber. Okay, you get your vivid chartreuse. I thought, why is that so dark? And you're just going to blend some vivid chartreuse into the green. And if you do like me and you get them darker, I mean, it's okay. The leaf is still very pretty. We're still going to use this just fine. But I also like to go ahead and all the curlicues, I go ahead and add some of the vivid chartreuse to all the curlicues. So that's all we're going to do for our coloring. At this point, we can go ahead and die cut. And like I said, you should have 3 of these and 3 of these, and you can go ahead and die cut all of those. Yes, the daubers are incredible, and Joyce says it's 70 where she is. Oh, and some are snowing. My word. Well, I'm not going to complain about 85 because I will take 85 over 3 inches of snow any day. I grew up in the Chicago area, so I know about snow. But now that I'm in Texas, I am fine with, I only want to see snow if I'm on vacation. I don't want to live with it every day. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is you're going to have a pile of your roses, and I just have these 3 pieces, but you're going to have a nice big pile. And we're going to take our deep purple, and on all of our roses, we're just going to flick the ends of them and give those edges some nice deep color. And we do this with almost all of the flowers, but what it's going to do when we layer it, you're going to see the bottom layer, you'll see the green, and on the edge of the top next layer, you're going to see the dark purple. And so it really helps you to be able to see the dimensions within your flowers. I notice if I don't do this, then they kind of just blend together and you don't see the edges nearly as well. So this is a step that if I skip it, I really miss it and I don't think it looks as good. So this is I think it's a pretty important step to get your edges inked a little bit. So you do this to all of your rose petals. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to come in with our emerald green. And I'm just going to flick the edges here of my leaves a little bit. Now on the leaves, I don't think it's quite as important to do the edges. But I almost always do. I like the way that looks. And you can do them as heavy or light or dark as you like it. All right, so once we've done this, we're completely done with our inking and coloring. So the next step, we're going to use the 3D shaping mold with the classic rose. I am so glad they have the shaping mold for the rose, because for me, there's so many layers when you make a rose that it can really be tough on your hands if you're making these by hand. So the molds just made it so I can mass produce the roses. This is probably one of my favorite molds. So let's go ahead and I'm actually going to run them through the machine for you. Often I just kind of tell you about it, but this time I'm actually going to run these through. So this one petal has, it almost looks like a little tulip, the petal itself, and that's how I find which, how to lay them in here. There we go, right there. And then I'm also going to do this leaf, and you lay that in. Now you're going to want to do all of your petals, so go ahead and stack those up. I'm going to use my water spritzer bottle here and just give them one spritz of water. And put the lid on. Whoops, wrong way. There we go. Okay. Now I use a Cuttlebug machine. And I'm going to put one plate on the bottom of my mold. And I'm going to put one plate on the top of my mold. And now I'm just going to bring it up to the mouth of the machine. And sometimes if you have several layers in there, it can feel like it's not going to go. But if you just kind of press right down here and get that top plate under the lip of your machine, then it's going to go through just fine. All right, so that is how you do the mold. I had a few people contact me and say they needed to see exactly how it worked. So I'm going to tip it now that I've sent it through so you can see. We've got a clear plate, we got the mold, and then a clear plate. And that's how you put it through your machine. All right, so super easy peasy. All right. Let's see the results. And there we go. Look at that. Beautiful shape. The rose mold specifically gives you a really deep impression, which is really nice. Okay. So I had already done all the other pieces of our flower. The way you make a rose is you're going to want 2 layers of each size. All right. Oh, looks like this one I did forget to do. If that ever happens to you, just go ahead and get out your shaping mat and your stylus. And if you are shaping any of the petals by hand, you're going to want to put a lot of pressure right in the center, up along the edges, drawing it back towards the center. But on the petals, you see, you run your stylus across the top of the petal and then pull it back. And that puts that curve out there. And then I like to turn it over and just put a little pressure in the middle. But that will help us to use that. Oh, I still need that. All right, so you want 2 of each size. And that is going to help us to make this size of flower. So this bottom one, I'm not going to shape. This one, I'm going to put a little bit of pressure. And on each of these, I'm going to put a little more pressure, drawing them up. And on these 2, I'm going to turn them over and put my pressure on the other side. Now, if you have a heat gun, this is a good time to go ahead and get that fired up. And on the lower layers, I like to use just regular glue, the dry clear glue. But for the bud that goes in the center, I like to use hot glue. So I'll show you how I do that. So I just put a little bit of glue. I keep taking my glasses off and it's really making it hard to see. All right. So tell me in the comments, is the rose something that you really like to make? Oh, Shirley says you don't have to put the mold through the machine. You can get some really nice shape to it just by putting pressure on it with your hands. I never thought of that. We always just run it through the machine, but I can see where if you wanted just a little bit of pressure that you could just do that with your hands. Probably the machine probably gets it a little bit tighter. And yes, it is 2 A plates. For the Cuttlebug, I have 2 A plates that I use to run it through. I believe with the Cuttlebug, let me double check it, but yes, I'm pretty sure. Oh, I lied. It's actually 2 B plates. I knew they were both the same, but it's actually 2 B plates, Shirley, if you have a Cuttlebug. Was it Shirley that asked me? Let me see. Catherine, yes. There you go. Okay, so once we get that in, we're going to go ahead and finish layering it up. There you go. Okay, there we go. Okay. Now, one trick I like to do once I get it to this point is I take my finger and I just press down in there really well. And this makes a nice little kind of tight cupped area for your bud to sit in. And that's just something I like to do. I actually press my nails right down into the base of all those where the petals meet to make myself a nice little area for my bud to sit down in. So now we're going to do the bud. And this is the way I like to do it. I like to hold on to just one petal. Sorry, better do this part first. Okay, so from this part, I just fold all the petals up together. See how I just folded them all up in there together? And now I'm going to run it, I'm going to roll it with my fingers. Yeah, there's lots of you who have done it with your hands, just pressing. That's really, I never ever thought of that, but I'm going to give it a try. Especially if you're like crafting out away from home and you don't want to have to take your, die machine and everything. If pressing it with your hands works, that's great. So you see how rolling that between my fingers gives you a nice little bud look there? So that's all we're going to do to that piece. Now this piece is where the hot glue comes in. I'm going to hold it by one petal and just very lightly put a little bit of glue in there. It doesn't take much. Now I'm going to poke our little bud right in there and bring these edges up. And that's going to give me a nice bud. Now this can be tricky because you can burn yourself. So I am going to add just a little bit of hot glue in here and just set my bud down inside. Okay. I'll hold that just a second till it dries. And there's our nice shaped rose. Now you see how that green and purple, how you can see the edges by putting that lighter color down inside. It kind of helps you see all the different layers of the rose. So that's kind of a trick you can do whether you're using pinks or peaches or purple, putting a lighter color down inside and letting your edges be dark, your petal edges. It helps you see those different levels. Okay. All right, so we're gonna, whoops, I got a hot glue thread that's stuck to my finger. There we go. Okay, you're gonna have 3 of these and 3 of these when you're done with this process. All right, so once you're done with that, it looks like we are ready to start die cutting. So the first die cut we're going to use is our Gateway Palace die. And you're going to use just the decorative piece, and you're going to cut that, you're going to cut that out of the Deluxe Gold, the Luxe Gold. And that is going to give you this right here. Okay. Now we're also going to take our rectangle filigree frame, and you're going to cut just the outer frame, this one right here, out of the other half of the Deluxe Gold. And that's going to give you this right here. Now, on the inside of this piece, you've got a piece of gold. And I want you to cut your Thinking of You die. You're going to cut that out from that inside. So that's going to be your one piece of gold cardstock. That's how you're going to line it up to get your 3 pieces. Okay. And remember, we stamped the white cardstock. The next thing you're going to do, we're going to cut this die out of the top, and that will give you this right here. Go ahead and use the Thinking of You. I just noticed I didn't put my pin back on my glue. All right, the Thinking of You, go ahead and die cut out so that you have this. It should be stamped in purple, and we put a little bit of color on it, so this is what that'll look like. And then for the Happy Birthday, you're going to come in with the arrows and tag die, which you all know this is my favorite die. It comes from the Arrows, and I think it's Arrows and Banners is the name of that. And this is you're going to cut it out about like this, so you have about maybe equal space on both sides of the words birthday, or between Happy Birthday. Okay? So once you cut that out, then you'll have this piece right here. All right, so let's take a look at everything we have so far. We've got our frame, our pretty piece here, and then we have our flowers and leaves. So the last thing we have to do is to create our card base and make our layers. And I almost forgot. All right, this piece right here, remember we put this sentiment right down here? This die right here, we're going to do one more time. And when you cut it out, you need to place it like this. So don't worry about the edges. We don't need the edges, but we need this centerpiece. So you want to make sure that when you lay it on here, this is kind of centered on the inside. Does that make sense? Yes, it is Arrow and Banner. Thank you for putting that up there. I thought that's what it was called. I was just answering, someone had a question about a Sizzix Big Shot plus plates. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't have one of those machines, so I'm not sure about those plates. But if anybody has that information, you can definitely pop it in there. All right, so you want to go ahead and die cut this. And like I said, the actual frame piece is not so important. You just want this inner piece with this centered along the bottom there. Okay, so go ahead and die cut that out. And that is going to give you this piece right here. And now we're finished die cutting. Okay, so we can set all these pieces aside until we're ready to construct our card. There we go. And for our card, we're going to make a card base that is 7 by 5.5. And you can go ahead and you cut one piece 7 by 5.5, and on the other one make it 6 inches. Make a score and then fold it over and attach your other piece, and that's going to give you a top folding card base, okay? Because we do want this to be a top folding card. Now on that purple piece that I showed you, my purple piece is a little different than your purple piece, but that is okay. On my original I used the other one, but you're going to cut this to be 1/18 of an inch smaller all the way around. So the measurements of this one come to 6 7/8 by 5 5/8. So I have that written down right here on the tag. I'll put it right here in case you want to make note of it. 6 7/8 by 5 5/8, and you're just going to glue that right down on here. Now I like to go around my edges with the deep purple ink. On my original I did that. For here I'm just going to tell you I did it, but I'm not going to do it for this one, so you don't have to watch me. Okay, so go ahead and glue that down. Okay, for our two pieces that look like this, we're going to layer these and put the gold on the top. Okay, so you can go ahead and do that. Do you ever have a glue like weeping really badly? I've got my glue needs to be opened up, and I find if I let a little air out of it, and that kind of helps stop that weeping. So, oops, there we go. Okay, so once you get it layered, we can go ahead and just glue that onto our card base, but you want to glue it on the lower half of your card. So make sure you know where your opening is. Yeah, okay. And now we're going to put this piece right so that the bottom edge, whoops, sorry, I was out of the camera, I didn't realize, sorry. Okay, so you want your bottom edge, and there's going to be a gap up here, but that is okay. We did that 1/2 inch gap up there on purpose. Okay. All right. Now we want to take our piece like this, and we're going to glue that right inside. Okay. And also I would have gone around these edges with the purple as well. I almost always ink all my edges. That's personal preference if you like doing that. I just kind of like the shadow that it creates. Okay, so once we get to this part, let's go ahead and set these aside for a moment. And we're going to talk about what I really wanted to show you in this video. So with the Elegant Rose frames, there are so many other products that Heartfelt Creation offers that this frame just pairs with beautifully. So I wanted to look at some of those. So this one is called the Royal Frame and Accent Die. I want you to notice how beautifully this fits inside. Look at that. It looks like there's little crowns over each of the edge. But wouldn't that be pretty on a card? And this would make a great size. And I love the point that Tracy made in her video about making flat mailable note cards with these beautiful frames. And this die I just thought paired with it beautifully. And here's another. This is the Majestic Swirl. And I wanted to show you how it looks in here. Look how the sizing, it just perfectly fits right inside this beautiful frame. With these nice decorative little holes over there in the corners. It just, it's like it was just made to go in there. So I thought that was really neat. So once I made my frames, I kind of pulled out several of my dies and just started looking like, what can I pair this with that is unique and different? So we cut one of these gateway dies. And I held up my frame, and looky there, it's just perfectly fit right inside this gate. But I didn't want the doors to the gate. So I went ahead and I took my scissors and I just cut the doors off. Okay, so now we have almost like a stage. I thought this just would make a great stage if you were making a card with little critters in there or something that they were on stage. So go ahead and cut those off and look just how perfectly that beautiful frame fits, and what a glamorous kind of elegant window we have now by adding this beautiful gold around it. So I just thought that was really neat. All right. I'm just trying to keep an eye on the comments as well. So, okay, once we get to this point, remember on the back side of your purple or of your patterned paper, I told you we were going to use this green, this light green section. Now this is the time we're going to use it. So you can go ahead and grab that paper and you're going to cut a piece that measures 2 3/4 by 4 3/4. Okay, so it's 4 3/4 by 2 3/4. And of course I inked around the edges with the chartreuse green. And then on your purple piece, you should have plenty of purple left. You're going to get 2 little pieces, and they are going to measure 1/2 by 2 3/4. So they're the exact same height as this piece, but they're only a 1/2 inch wide. And I'll show you what we're going to do with that. Hold on here. I'm having glue issues today. There we go. Okay. These 2 little purple pieces, we're going to glue them right on the ends of our green piece. So watch here, like I'm not putting it out to the edge, I'm actually putting it on the green piece. You see that? You're just going to glue them right down on top of that green piece. Now for this part, for our window, we're going to put our glue right here on this lattice work. And you're going to place that lattice work of this gateway die right over these 2 little purple pieces. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. And I'm going to put just a little bit of glue here because I believe this part that hangs down, it hits on there as well. So once you get that done, just line those up. And there we go. That's all glued down there. Okay, so there's our window. So this little piece right here, I chose to make it part of a larger card, but I thought one kind of cool idea was to take like just this piece and use it with your frame. And you could put that like on a smaller card. Like you could do it on a 5x7. You could maybe even get away with a regular A2 card. I'm not sure. I may have to give that a try. But just this little stage piece, I thought was beautiful just all by itself. Even if you didn't want to, you know, add the dimensional roses and do something bigger, this would make a really pretty note card. Kind of combining Tracy's idea and my idea together. Okay, so let's go ahead. The next step, on the back side of our piece here, we're going to go ahead and get out our foam mat again and our stylus. And very quickly, we're just going to add some dimension just to the flower places Not a lot, just a little bit. Just run your stylus over there, giving a little bit of dimension to those flowers and leaves. And now we're going to take our foam strips and we're going to run the foam strips just around that frame. We're coming in on the final stretch here of our making our card. We're just basically assembling all the pieces we've made. Okay. Oops. All right. A few more pieces. All right, now on my original, I did this 2 layers. So that's something that is up to you. If you want to do 2 layers of foam, that just gives you a little more height. I kind of liked it that way. So if that's something you want to do, you can just peel up that top one and lay on that second layer. There you go. Okay. These little thin foam strips were one of the best things they came out with. Whoever thought of that was just a genius. And I thank them very much. It's funny how a simple thing like that can just make such a difference. My little papers are coming off on their own, and so it's sticking to my fingers, something horrible. Okay. And the last side, I would have done this in advance if I'd known it was going to stick to me so bad. Okay, there we go. Okay, so once you get your foam, and like I said, you can do 1 layer or 2, we're going to go ahead and add our beautiful frame onto our base here that we've made. Get little strips all over. Okay. Now this is totally up to you, whether for you this is the top or this is the top. For me, I did it this way. And where you position it, it's pretty kind of obvious. You just right on that die, you can kind of see where that fits to look right in there. There you go. And by putting that second layer of foam, it gives you a little more height to put our sentiment. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up these little papers. And we're going to attach. Now, the way I attached my piece here is I wanted this beautiful kind of crown. It almost looks like a tiara to me, and I thought this would make a beautiful birthday card for you know, that king or that queen or princess in your life. You know, we have women in our lives that just kind of have that personality of being princess or queen, and I thought this would be a really good birthday card for them because this just looks like a beautiful tiara up there. So I'm going to go ahead and just add some glue to the back of this. You could also add foam if you wanted to pop that up. And like I said, I am having glue issues today. Let's try to clean that out and see if... there we go. Okay. There we got it. Okay. So now that we've got that through, I'm just going to position this right in there so we've got that pretty crown. Okay. And now we're going to use our glue gun and attach our roses. And for these, I'm going to put some greenery on the 2 corners. And I think this one, whoops. I have one that's shaped. I didn't shape that one, so we'll do this one. Okay. Let's get my glue coming out here. All right. Oh, thank you, Pamela. Thank you very much. So while I'm waiting on my glue gun, it seems to be taking its time, I'm going to show you this trick of how I like to do a banner. I like to put my thumbs in the center, and on this finger I'm going to pull up, and on this thumb I'm going to push down. And as I do that, it's going to make an S shape. You see that? So that's how I get my banner to do. And then sometimes I will take my stylus and just curl those edges a little bit. So, sorry, you can curl it as tight as you want, or, and on this one, or as loose as you want. But on this one, I'm going to curl this end a little bit as well, because of how I'm going to feed it in there. So I wanted that to just kind of tuck right under my flowers like this, and under this one over here. That's why I didn't put foam on these pieces, because I knew I wanted to tuck my banner in there. So now that I've kind of got it positioned where I want it, I'm just going to put glue under there and hold it down. And same with over here. I'm just going to put some glue and hold it down. All right, so now we'll go ahead and put our flowers on. My leaf broke here. There we go. Okay. And I just had these roses in the two corners and around. One on each side, and then one kind of up on the frame a little bit. Like that. And then up here. And then the other one kind of down here. All right. Now, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to take our little swag here and add some dimension into these leaves as well. I almost forgot this little guy, and I thought he was so pretty on here. So we'll add these. And I'm just going to add a little bit of hot glue. I mean, you could use the regular glue as well. I just have this out and hot, so I'm going to use this. And he just goes right here along the bottom. Oh, I love that. That just brings it all together. There you go. Now, the very, I have little glue strands all over the place. Okay, so the very last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up. And our two little sentiments that we made, I'm going to layer those up so that you see a little bit of gold peeking out. And they're going to get glued on the inside. And I just thought it was a very pretty sentiment to say happy birthday, and just wanted to let you know, thinking of you today. I figured the I am or the I'm is kind of understood. If you had a stamp or something that said that, you could stamp it, but I thought it got the message just like that. So the very last thing you could do if you want to is definitely to add your glitter, but I'm not going to do that for you today because I believe I've kept you too long. But I'm so glad that you like this card. Denise says she likes this idea, and I appreciate that so much. But I hope that you will get out your rose frames. If you've already got this set, that you'll get out these elegant frames, go through your dies, and just to hold them up to your dies and just see how beautiful those frames pair with so many of the different dies. I just showed you a couple ideas, but even the other frame that comes in the set with that rounded edge, there are several dies that just really fit with that rounded edge as well. So I hope that you'll kind of check that out and give that a try. All right, now I'm going to see if I can change my camera again. All right. I think maybe you're seeing me. I'm not sure yet. There I am. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I am excited about this idea. I hope that you'll give it a try. And If you haven't got your rose frames yet, you can still pick those up on the website, and I think you'll really enjoy kind of jazzing up your dies with these beautiful frames. So, all right, well, thank you so much for crafting with me today, and I look forward to crafting with you again soon. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.